Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Emperor of Scent, a true story of perfume and obsession, by Chandler Burr, narrated by Jamie Renell. Publisher's note: this audiobook will refer to visual elements included in the print and ebook editions of the book. I think that we might fairly gauge the future of biological science, centuries ahead, by estimating the time it will take to reach a complete, comprehensive understanding of odor. It contains, piece by piece, all the mysteries. Lewis Thomas. A note from the author. For the sake of scientific and narrative clarity, I have edited certain emails and correspondence, and presented some events out of order. Some names and details have been changed to protect privacy. Part 1. Creation. 1. Mystery. Start with the deepest mystery of smell. No one knows how we do it. Despite everything, despite the billions the secretive giant corporations of smell have riding on it, and the powerful computers they throw at it, despite the sorcery of their legions of chemists and the years of toiling in the labs, and all the famous neuro-wizardry aimed at mastering it, the exact way we smell things, anything, crushed raspberry and mint, the subway at West 14th and 8th, a newborn infant, remains a mystery. Luca Turin began with that mystery. Or perhaps he began further back with the perfumes. The reason I got into this, Turin will say, is that I started collecting perfume. I loved perfume from when I was a kid in Paris and Italy. Or maybe, he'll tell you another day, considering it from a different angle, maybe it was because I'm French. At least by upbringing. Frenchmen will do things Anglo men won't, and France is a country of smells. There's something called pourriture noble rot. It's a fungus. It grows on grapes, draws the water out, concentrates the juice wonderfully, adds its own fungal flavor, and then you make wines like the sweet Sauterne, paradise, from rotten grapes. The idea that things should be slightly dirty, overripe, slightly fecal is everywhere in France. They like rotten cheese and dirty sheets and unwashed women. Guy Robert is about 70, a third-generation perfumer, lives in the south of France, used to work for International Flavors and Fragrances, created Calèche for Hermès. One day he asked me, "Est-ce que vous avez senti some molecule or other?" And I said, no, I'd never smelled it. What'd it smell like? And he considered this gravely, and replied, "Ce sont les femmes qui se négligent." It smells of the woman who neglects herself. This makes him remember something, and he leans forward enthusiastically. One of the stories I heard when I started meeting the perfumers and was led into their tightly closed world involves Jean-Carl, one of the greatest perfume makers in Paris. He used to work for Roure in Grasse, near Nice, where all perfumes used to be made. He became anosmic, lost his sense of smell, and he simply carried on from memory, creating perfumes. Like Beethoven after his deafness, Jean-Carl went on to create the great maverick for Carven, a result of pure imagination in the complete absence of the relevant physical sense. Carl's condition was known only to him and his son. When a client came in, he'd go through the motions, making a big show of smelling various ingredients, and finally the perfume he had created, which he would present with great gravity to the client, smelling it and waving its odor around the room. And he couldn't smell anything. Turin smiles, thinking about it. The perfume obsession led Turin to write the Perfume Guide, which, out of the blue, cracked open for him doors into the vast secret world in which perfumes are created. And there he started noticing little things that didn't make sense. A weird warp in official reality. Plus, there were the other clues. the small pockets of strangeness he bumped into in the scientific literature, carefully fitting these into the puzzle without even realizing it, without, as he'd be the first to admit, really understanding what he was doing. And somewhere along the line, between scouring the French Riviera for bottles of hidden fragrances, pursuing, in his own very particular way, the strange triplets of biology and chemistry and physics, and prowling the library's remotest stacks, randomly sliding into things he found there, something that, due to his intellectual promiscuity, he does a lot of, somewhere, Luca Turin got the idea of cracking smell. But it started with the mystery at smell's heart, which is not only that we don't know how we do it, we actually shouldn't be able to smell at all. From everything we know about evolution and molecular biology, smell does the impossible. Look at 2 other systems inside your body and you'll understand. First, digestion. Human beings have evolved over millennia while eating certain molecules, lipids and carbohydrates and proteins in the roots and berries and various unlucky animals we've gotten our hands on. The tiny carbs and proteins are made of tinier atoms and molecules, and for your body to burn them as various fuels, evolution has engineered a digestive system for you. The system's first task is to recognize which raw fuel it's dealing with, so it can send out the right enzymes to break that fuel down, process it for us. Enzymes are catalysts, molecule wranglers, and every enzyme in every one of our cells, and there are tens of thousands of different enzymes, binds to a molecule and processes it. Some break molecules down, scrapping them to use their dismantled parts. Some zip them together, and some rearrange them for the body's own purposes. But in every case, the enzyme recognizes its molecule by that molecule's particular shape: fat, thin, lumpy, rounded, oblong, rectangular. The enzyme feels some cleft in some molecule, fits its special fingers into it like a key fits into a lock. And if the shape of the lock and the shape of the key conform, bingo, recognition, by shape. And what gives a molecule its shape? We think of atoms as these perfectly symmetrical spheres, shining and frozen on labels of super-strong kitchen cleaners, their electrons zipping around their nuclei like perfect spherical stainless steel brackets. Since electrons move at close to the speed of light, if you filmed those cartoon atoms in motion, you'd see a round electron membrane, a solid buzzing sphere made of blisteringly fast-moving electrons. But that's kitchen cleaner labels. The skins of atoms are actually made of the paths of their outermost electrons. But not only don't they zip around in perfectly circular orbits, they carve an almost infinite variety of 3D orbital grooves around their nuclei. If that's not enough, atoms get shoved against and glued to one another in molecules, forming bulbous structures, or non-spherical structures with disks and oblongs. Imagine taking the giant inflatable balloons in the Macy's parade, each one shaped differently, and pushing them against one another. Their skins smoosh and warp, their bulbs and crevices contract and expand. So the electrons zip along in these new configurations, in elongated ellipses and valleys and sharp peaks and strange arcs. Which means that each molecule creates a unique shape that an enzyme can recognize as precisely as a retinal scan. In fact, molecular recognition is arguably the fundamental mechanism of all life, and it's based on this single universal principle: shape. Receptor cells from your head to your glands and skin recognize enzymes, hormones, and neurotransmitters by their molecular shapes. The only variable is time. The thing about enzymes is that evolution has learned over millennia that you're going to need to digest, break down, make up, or molecularly rearrange certain things. Wild almonds and crab apples and dead squirrels, sugars, fats, and proteins, and not others, raw petroleum or sand or silicate, fluorocarbons and borazines. So evolution has by now selected for you a complete fixed genetic library of enzymes that will bind.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?